Okay guys, so now we get to play our Electron Transport Chain board game. As you can see, the Electron Transport Chain is only one of two parts of oxidative phosphorylation, but I didn't think that oxidative phosphorylation board game sounded as good. So here we go. This is stage 4 of cellular respiration. And what we are looking at is an oversimplification of the inside of the mitochondria. We have the inner membrane space and the mitochondrial matrix, and this is the inner membrane, which is a phospholipid bilayer, just like the cell membrane. Numbered in Roman numerals, you can see protein complex 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as coenzyme Q, and this other little helper that I never can pronounce right. And then on the far right, we have ATP synthase, which is going to operate via chemiosmosis to finalize all of our ATP production. So remember, we talked about our major players when we looked at our equation. Glucose is out of the picture at this point, and so we are working with a couple of different things. We have ADP and phosphate that are going to turn into ATP energy, which is of course the primary goal of cellular respiration. And we have O2 oxygen that's going to end up as an H2O byproduct, and it will be our final electron acceptor. Then we have our two enzymes that work as electron transporters, NADH and FADH2. So now that you know where we are in the cell, in the mitochondria specifically, and you know what all of our major players are, let's see if we can't walk through this game here. So first of all, after the Krebs cycle, along comes NADH. It gives up one of its electrons to energize protein complex 1. And it gives up a hydrogen at the same time. So once protein complex 1 is energized, it has the energy to pump out in active transport these protons or hydrogen ions into the intermembrane space. Right? There you go. So then remember, our electron is always looking for a lower energy situation to be in. So it's going to go right over here to coenzyme Q. And what we're left with after the NADH gives up its hydrogen and its electron is NAD+. Then along comes the other thing we made, FADH2. Now it is going to give up an electron and send it right over here to complex 2. And actually it has 2 hydrogens and 2 electrons to give. Then these electrons are going to continue to move down the line to more and more beneficial or low energy pairings, and it's going to energize or charge up the battery of this protein complex 3, and some more hydrogens are going to go through, and this one will charge up and we'll get some more hydrogens going through, and this one will charge up and we'll get more hydrogens coming through, and they will move on down and charge up 4. We're going to consolidate here, and we're going to just pump all these hydrogens through. Okay, so we've got some active transport here, and now we have a whole bunch of protons, hydrogen ions, up here in the intermembrane space. So we have a clear difference in our gradient here, right? We have a chemical gradient we've got way more H+ up here than we do down here. And so at this point, because of chemiosmosis, we're wanting to move these H+ ions back into the mitochondrial matrix to even things out. And of course, we can't forget that the last place that our electron wants to settle is over here with oxygen, and it can grab one of these spare H's that's floating around in the mitochondrial matrix, and we will end up with the byproduct H2O, okay? So once we get all of these H plus ions up here in the intermembrane space, ATP synthase kicks in and facilitates them coming back along their concentration gradient into the mitochondrial matrix. And when it does that, ATP synthase is got a really cool, almost mechanical kind of setup to it. And it turns like a turnstile at like a theme park entrance, or a windmill that's grinding up grain. And as these hydrogens go through, it has the energy to then stamp this phosphate onto this ADP, taking it from adenosine diphosphate to adenosine triphosphate, which is, as you remember, the primary purpose of cellular respiration. And so as these hydrogens come back home through this ATP synthase, they crank this mechanical thing and slam this phosphate back on the ADP to make ATP. Okay, so we're pulling these hydrogens back down to where they want to be, back down into the mitochondrial matrix, and we are just slamming phosphates onto ADPs to make our ATP. And this is where most of the ATP in cellular respiration happens, is right here at the very end of stage 4, oxidative phosphorylation. All right, hope that helps.